There we go. All right, Mr. Chair, it is 6 o'clock on the dot, whenever you're ready to get started.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to the Ward 4 Neighborhood Advisory Board. My name is Jared Souther. I'm the chair of the board. I'd like to welcome you to our February meeting. We're going to start this evening by standing and joining the Pledge of Allegiance. I've asked Ben to lead us.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Play ball.
So at this time, I'd like to have a call to order and have attendance, a roll call.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Jared Souther,
Present.
Kathleen Egan,
Present.
John White,
Present.
Benjamin Johnson,
Present.
Victoria Luck, absent at this time. Council Liaison, Councilmember Eber, absent at this time. Staff Liaison, Abigail Mayorga present, and then I also have my counterpart, Tyler Shaw. All right, you have a quorum of the Ward 4 Neighborhood Advisory Board meeting, Mr. Chair.
Wonderful.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, item 1B, it allows for opportunity for public comment. And each person that would like to speak would be given 3 minutes per commenter.
Members of the public may hear, observe, and provide public comment virtually by registering through the following link, which can be found on reno.gov/meetings. And the link is as followed: https://links.gov/47HM0 As Mr. Chair mentioned, comments are to heard under this item are limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the agenda. The board may not take action upon any matter not agendized on today's agenda. When you are called on for public comment, please state your name for the record and begin speaking. The timer will begin when you say your name and you will be afforded 3 minutes. If you are an attendee on Zoom and would like to give public comment, please raise your hand and then we will get to you as well. At this time, we do have public commenters, Mr. Chair. Yeah, we're gonna start with LT Autry, who came, so he can kind of speak. I know that he came last month, so some of y'all got his updates, but he's just here for a follow-up and any questions that you may have, so we'll keep it short.
Absolutely. Evening, I'm Lieutenant Corey Autry with RPD, Watch Commander for Swing Shift. Just have a few notes to go over for some crime stats for y'all's information. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer. Going back through the month of January, in just this ward, assaults, both aggravated and simple, total 16. No real trends there. A lot of domestics, a lot of people that were familiar with one another, known suspects, nothing real random. A couple of commercial burglaries, just 2, which is good. One was a construction site. The other one was an online report, which wasn't really clear. There was a smattering of destruction of properties. There's 12 of them. However, most of those were online reports with no evidence, no witnesses, no video, et cetera. So there's not a whole lot to go on there. A couple of residential burglaries. Again, no evidence, no witness. It's unfortunate. Not a whole lot to follow up with those. There was a cluster on the map of stolen vehicles in the Stead area, and I expected to see a lot of those being warning thefts. In the wintertime, people leave their cars warming up and people will steal them. However, that wasn't the case. They were just legitimate GTAs with no rhyme or reason. I looked for like a common theme with vehicle type, and there was nothing that I could find. There was 12 of those in the month. And then vehicle burglaries. There was actually 18 of those, theft of vehicle and vehicle burglary, same similar. Most of them are all smash and grab, crime of opportunities. So you leave a laptop on the front seat, you leave your purse where they can see it. There was probably 5 or 6 where the cars were actually unlocked. So secure the vehicle, keep things out of sight, out of mind. There was a rash of them in the Selmy area, but we did make an arrest in one of those. I think he was probably responsible for quite a few in the area, but it's unconfirmed at this point in time. So that's it as far as those go. The GTAs instead, the vehicle burglaries being crimes of opportunity. Other than that, there were really no trends in the crime of person category. So that is all I have there, and I'll field any questions that y'all got.
Thank you for that report. Anyone from the board want to ask a question?
I just want to say, if anyone is following the news reports for recently what's happened in our neighborhood, what is a very sad event that has happened. It's not because of our neighborhood, it's because of, unfortunately, families have tragic events that happen in any neighborhood. And mental health and children who have access to weapons. And also children who have, I have a child with autism. In this event, a child who was in charge of a child who has autism. Anyways, we all know what's in the news lately, and it's in the national news, it's in the world news, actually. It's very unfortunate. And so, help that we can get to families for resources, for mental health, and for taking care of children and, childcare needs. I just want to say that, this is not a representative of our neighborhood. It's a representative of families that could use resources for help.
Yeah, it was pretty awful. I was there to watch Commander that night, and I would reiterate what you said, that it's not a reflection on the neighborhood. The unfortunate reality is that those things do occur without rhyme or reason in any various locations. I don't care if it's north, central, south, Reno, Sparks, Carson, it unfortunately happens. But again, like you say, there's no reflection on the area.
Yep. Any other questions for the SCID officer, Lieutenant?
I do not.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Dawn Better.
Is this the spot?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Any spot.
Any spot in your spot.
Good evening. My name is Don Vetter. I'm Secretary of the Sierra Sage Men's Golf Club. We need your help to keep affordable, accessible outdoor recreation alive in Washoe County and in Ward 4 in particular. Sierra Sage is that. Last year, the course hosted nearly 50,000 rounds. More than 13,000 of those were senior players, nearly 2,600 juniors, many part of the first tee program, and paying a generously reduced green fee. However, interpretation of a 25-year-old City of Reno, Washoe County agreement is threatening to the viability of the course. This also threatens to derail efforts to control flooding at Swan Lake, problem that has cost taxpayers millions of dollars already. Sierra Sage Golf Course buys between 110 to 120 million gallons of treated effluent water from the Reno State Water Reclamation Facility, delivered in a pipeline that was paid for by Gulf Enterprise funds. This water would otherwise be going into Swan Lake, the site of devastating floods over the past several years. Our course irrigation helps control the lake level and effectively returns the water to the local aquifer in an environmentally effective and flood-friendly manner. The City of Reno has unilaterally exercised a clause in this agreement that effectively quintupled the cost of effluent water. What was once a $40,000 annual fee has now jumped to more than $225,000 a year. Without going into too much detail, we feel the increase was applied arbitrarily and outside the parameters of the original city-county agreement. Sierra Sage and the North Valleys Regional Park are the only two public recreation facilities that pay for treated effluent water in our community from this plant. Ironically, the City of Reno's Mayor Park, which also irrigates with water from the Stead Reclamation Facility, does not pay a water use fee. For the past 32 months, Mazza Golf Management has tried to negotiate a common sense, equitable solution that considers the benefits of our water reuse program, the sustainability of golf and recreation, and an equitable approach to this public resource. Ironically, golf courses in the south part of the valley do not pay for the effluent water they use. This includes private Arrow Creek Golf Club. Wild Creek does not pay for effluent, while the Andrea, just opened, pays less than a third of the fees charged Sierra Sage. The Men's Club has been told by Mazza Ferry Golf Management that it has two choices in this matter: end its management contract with the county. And remember, 13 years ago, the county was going to close Sierra Sage. That could be the end game. The second is raising fees, thus threatening to put recreation resources out of reach of some seniors and juniors. We are the most affordable course in the county. The ask here is seeking your support, your awareness, to maybe recut the deal. Mazza Ferry Golf can cover O&M fees, but we need common sense, maybe even a regional approach to treated effluent water. Remember, the course helps the city not only with Swan Lake, but also with aquifer recharge in a desert ecosystem. And I see Councilman Eberts here, and she is aware of this, and she has been very supportive of our attempts to try and kind of get the city staff to step up and at
Thank
least
you.
meet with us. So I'll leave it there, and here's my comments. And thank you for the time. And
you.
stay tuned. There'll be more.
Thank you.
We'll make sure a copy of those comments are distributed to the members and added to the record.
Thank you.
Up next, we have
Kathleen Egan, for the record. The decision on this, I have a question. We have multiple things that we don't know if it's a city or a county or both who has final decision on this. Councilmember Ebert, is this a city or a council or a county issue?
It's a little of both. So Councilwoman Ebert, for the record, the contract, I believe, is with the city, but they're purchasing water through the county. And I have a copy of the contract. I don't have it with me right now. But I believe that we're selling the water through the city of Reno, but they're actually buying it from the county. So it's kind of like a pass through.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been working with Dave Solero at the county and Doug Thornley to try and find out if we can renegotiate their contract. And we have brought up the fact that other areas in the south part of the county don't have to pay for water. The argument is that it's different geographically, that it's a different, basin system, that up here we don't have as much water. So that's what we charge for it. So.
Okay, sorry for that outburst, but
Yeah.
okay.
All right.
Thank you so much. So you are following up on this?
Yeah.
On following through with the People's Food through the county for this?
Yeah.
Because this is incredibly important to keep this for our area.
Yeah.
And I'm still waiting for golf lessons, by the way. I'm still on the waiting list. But this is incredibly important because this is something that our citizens don't understand of these decisions that happen through the city and the county and the negotiation. So this is one of those things that we want our public to understand how these things happened. So thank you so much for following through on that and let us know how we can help in any way the public to how important this is for our neighborhoods up here. Thank you.
Awesome. Up next, we have Louise Sofferant.
Yes. I wanted to speak on the proposed Cold Springs development for storage units along White Lake. I would like to state that, speaking with my neighbors in Cold Springs Valley, that many of us feel that the associated traffic that this would create with associated trucks and U-Hauls would be detrimental. There's only two Village Parkway and Crystal Road. The traffic impact, for instance, would be greatly increased, and already there are townhouses developed along Village Parkway. And there is a question mark. I don't know what type of development along Mud Springs and Village Parkway. So those are additional developments that I think are going to be residential. I would also like to point out, has anyone done an environmental impact study on the suggestion of putting storage units along White Lake? White Lake is a scenic vista that many of us in Cold Springs truly enjoy. Has this been studied? Is this something that must be done as that area is also not only a part of Reno, but a part of Washoe County? I'm pausing just to see if I've covered all the points. Oh, the environmental impact. For instance, I personally don't understand why you would put storage units next to White Lake which occasionally does flood. And as many of us who live in that area have witnessed it going almost up to the expressway 395. So I would like the board to look into that and to report back to the community of Cold Springs Valley. Also, the very final point is emergency planning. Has there been any emergency planning for Cold Springs? There's only two ways out of that valley. When there is fire, and I have seen it from my own home along the hillside, I think to myself, how can I get out of this basin? And you're going to suggest that we see trucks and U-Hauls and increased traffic in our little basin? It should be residential, not industrialized, to become an industrialized park in Cold Springs.
Thank you for that feedback. After their presentation, you'll have an opportunity to ask additional questions. And I'll leave it at this point, but I really appreciate your coming and being a voice for your community. That's why we're here. So thank you.
At this time, if you would like to give public comment on Zoom, please raise your hand. It'll be the bottom button. There should be a little bottom button that says raise your hand. And I'll give you guys a second if you would like to give public comment.
Is there anyone else in the room who'd like to give public comment that hasn't registered? Looks
I
like,
don't know if I have or not.
well, that's
My name
okay.
is Carol Blumpkin, and I was actually on the original council that met at City Hall about 9 to 10 years ago. The development of the ranch that's across the way on Old Springs. That original outlaying idea that he had was supposed to be a separated place of apartments, houses, and or townhomes. And the original idea that we had was A, you had to widen the lanes. B, you had to finish North Virginia Street, which you saw, they only have pavement down, they have not finished North Virginia Street. That was not to include anything else. Plus, it also included White Lake itself. The only person who could build on White Lake or could be larger was a gentleman who has a trust company. It's what we put in the plans. Nobody else could build anything on White Lake because A, it was approval from him as being an enabling cause and or something that was going to be detrimental, which when you run around the lake, what we said is the view is Peavine. You can't see Peavine with having a company that's blocking it. It's not worth having all that piece. There were about 8 to 9 of us that were part of that meeting. And we all explicitly said that you have to have North Virginia finished. You have to widen the roads and have access to anything that's going to be built on the lake itself. It's going to be built on the lake. It came out from the person who's going to put anything on that lake to finish that development. The person with the trust company was allowed to do what he needed to because he's been there for about 25 plus years. So he wasn't a part of that argument because he's been there for so long. But anything else that was going to come onto that lake side had to have a drainage, had to open the roads and have the roads access from a 2 to a possibly 4-lane or accessible road. I was in that meeting. It was a meeting that lasted an hour and a half to 2 hours on a board meeting at City Hall. So before you start saying it's nice that this gentleman wants to put storage, there's 2 more storage lots that are coming here in the valley. The one that's being built over at Red Rock right now that just got finished. There's plenty of RV storage there. And to have an RV storage on that area is a waste of time as of right now. Wait until they finish the development across the way, which is about 5 to 10 years, and then maybe review this again. It's something that's not needed. It's only a storage lot that's going to take away from what we have in the community up there. So it's something that we have put down in the notes. You can look at it. It's the safety, the access it's given for the fire. You don't have that. You can't drive out to it. There's no reason to have somebody put storage out there. Something there catches on fire, we have problems. Been there for 25 plus years myself, so you guys got to think about before you just allow a giant piece of pavement out there. It's not going to work. Or warehouses. You have plenty of those out there too that are vacant going down the road. That says for lease or for sale. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Daryl. And then Tyler's gonna bring you a sheet over to fill out. Awesome. And then I don't see anyone on Zoom. If you would like to give public comment, feel free to stand.
Okay.
This will be else. Okay. I'll fill this out and hand it to them.
Perfect, thank you.
Beck Marco, I'm a volunteer in Cold Springs. I'm just very active in the community. And I have actually throughout our big flood, right after we moved in about 8 years ago, we had a big flood where the lake filled up. And I used to take video and screenshot it. So I actually have this area documented over the flood of, it was underwater. And there's also a great research study about how alkaline the soil is over there. And it's actually detrimental to the metal, and it's gonna be sandblasted. If you looked at the plans, for this, they're open air RV storage. That they're essentially parking to be sandblasted by alkaline soil, which could be a nightmare for owners who decide to park there. Plus, our fan community, most of the homes out there have RV parking attached to our houses. It just came with its standard. Our house has it. I mean, every house on my street has RV parking. I'm not against development out there because we desperately need commercial area out there. We are a food desert. We don't have a place for seniors to get fresh fruit and produce, and a lot of them can't drive. We don't have public transportation. I personally have had to run to the store to get people groceries because they couldn't make it to get food. So what we desperately need is like a grocery store, something, even like a little food stand, but not RV parking that we already have. This is going to be servicing people who don't live in our community, because everybody out there has the RV parking. This is going to be servicing people from outside of our area who will have to be driving in and out. And when in reality, like if we had a store there, that would help a lot of the traffic. So we have a lot of people that have to go from Cold Springs into town and back. So I really think that if, with this commercial area, yes, I know it's gonna be developed. There's no way we're gonna be able to avoid that. It's their land. However, I really think that projects need to be suited for the community too. It's just needed. And we need other commercial things. And this is, we have a very limited zone for commercial, and that's gonna take it so. For something not for our community. It's gonna be benefiting others, but not us.
Thank you. And then, Mr. Chair, for the record, Victoria Luck is online with us, so we have a full board today.
Thank you.
Perfect. And I think the gentleman was next behind him. You can state your name and then I'll get your timer started. Yes.
Okay, my name is Bill Wilkins. I live in Canyon Hills. Essentially, this proposed building site would be right in front of us by about 4 or 5 streets. My biggest issue has already been brought up. The roads are not in the best shape in that area. You're impacting the traffic pattern due to public safety alone. It's definitely a no. Also, after doing my research, there is a binding contract in place that this gentleman has brought up. You really need to improve the roads. You need to put in a traffic light, and you need to do an environmental study. That's the law. And none of it's been done. So until that's done, these people who have applied for the special use permit should be denied. The other issue is once you open that door and you let a warehouse / storage unit area in, then any other corporation can kick that door in and build out there as well. And if you deny them, they will sue you. That's something you really need to consider. You need to understand that when you put storage units in a residential area and a warehouse, you also decrease the value of the property and stop it from growing. Do not let this happen. We live there. We own our property. We own our homes. We do not want this unit or this developer to come in, make a quick dollar, and then leave. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to give public comment? There has objection as to what they're doing on that?
We'll get into the presentation and you'll be able to answer.
It's kind of backwards. You're having us at the same time, but. we don't-
Right, there's different periods of times where you're,
Appreciate it.
okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Anyone on Zoom would like to give public comment? Again, raise your hand at this time. Seeing none, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Item 1C, approval of the agenda, seeking a motion for approval of the agenda for today, February 15th.
Motion Kathleen Egan for the record to approve.
Thank you.
Second motion, Ben Johnson.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Awesome. And speaking of the agenda, here in a moment, we're going to make a change, just for record. After item B1, we'll move to item C1. I appreciate that. I just want to make sure everyone's aware of that. Moving forward, I'd like to turn time over to Councilwoman for a liaison report.
Well, tonight we're gonna be looking at some art that's gonna be painted out for some banners that are, gonna be installed, over on Sky Vista. This is something that was started prior to me being on the council, but the posts are there, so we're taking community input to decide which, art is gonna be printed out and put up there. Other things to call out, we're gonna have, a senior cooking class, February 29th, for, free to any senior to sign up and take. It's gonna be in the Reno Elks Lodge, February 29th, which is kind of Sunday, it's like your day. And I think that's it for council updates right now. We had kind of a light agenda at our council meeting yesterday. I think that's it for council updates. Sorry, it's not more exciting this time.
Thank you. Yes.
Kathleen Egan for the record. I just want to thank the council and Council Ebert for approving funds for our local nonprofit group for the Sons and Daughters of Erin. That is the local Irish group, that they have discretionary funds that the council approved for supporting for Irish culture and education for our area. So it was a light agenda, but we thank you for that light agenda approval, and for us as our volunteers and for us in the area that Nevada, the state of Nevada, and the Irish that helped make this state. We appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thanks. Awesome. Moving forward, item 1E, staff liaison report.
Yes, I do have a couple of things, Mr. Chair. So for the record, if you didn't hear our lovely host, the Washoe County has their first library mobile. It's the first of its kind. It's actually outside. So they put in so much work to get this grant. They kind of give us a rundown prior to starting. But she let us know that in the spring, they'll begin routes to other areas where the library isn't necessarily as accessible. And so they'll bring books and movies, and they can also help individuals sign up for library cards, which is awesome. So keep an eye out for that in the spring. Additionally, I wanted to go over a new program that has a revamped program that has started at the city of Reno, which is called Community Champions. So this program is, make sure I pull it up. Used, and the purpose is for members of the community to nominate community champions in your area via an online form here at reno.gov/community champions page on the city website. This purpose is to recognize nominees throughout the community that are kind of the unsung heroes that are working in your community to kind of make change or are taking groceries for their neighbors. So individuals like that who are just doing a little bit extra that people may not see. They're not necessarily, you know, the executive people of nonprofits that we know, but it's a way for us to recognize them and for those to get recognized for the work that they're doing. So it's super simple. You would go to the website, you'd say, I would like to nominate someone today. You'd fill out the appropriate information, and then we would highlight them at the upcoming NAB so they can kind of speak about who they are and what they do to hopefully get us more involved in our community. Additionally, they'd get recognized with a little swag bag from the city of Reno and get highlighted on the social media quarterly. So that is open to everybody and anybody who's looking to participate. So hopefully you'll nominate somebody today. So, yes, ma'am.
Kathleen Egan, for the, just a question.
Yeah.
We have a lot of like local churches that are doing this, and this is like a first name. Can we put like, for this nomination, I mean, I know I have a lot of wards and
Yeah.
different like churches. Do you have to have like an actual person's name, or can we actually nominate?
Like an organization?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I would just duplicate it, first name and last name.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
Okay.
that's totally fine.
thank you.
Of course. Any other questions? Perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then that's all I had, Mr. Chair.
All right. So we're moving into number 2 business items. We're going to hear a presentation from Hawkview Apartments redevelopment, item B1. So we'll proceed with the presentation. Thank you.
And then I'm gonna make Kathleen a presenter. So another Kathleen.
Are you able to show slides? as well?
Yes, yes, yes. Sorry, she's a little slow today.
Where?
Yeah. Yeah. Hi, Kathleen.
Hello.
Perfect. I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is JD Klippenstein. I am the Director of Development for the Reno Housing Authority, and I really appreciate the opportunity to come out and share some information about our Hawkview apartment project, which is actually the redevelopment of an existing public housing site. And just going to share some information about our plans, as well as the affordability that comes with it. So if you don't mind, Abigail, if you want to go to the next slide.
Yes, sure.
So this is absolutely a team effort. The Reno Housing Authority is an owner and co-developer in this project. It is public housing, and the Housing Authority will continue to own and operate it once we have redeveloped it. But we are working with a developer called Brinshore Development. They're kind of a national leader in helping to redevelop public housing sites. Kathleen is on from Brinshore and we'll share some information as well. And you can see some of the other partners that we're working with on this slide as well. So for those of you who don't know, the Reno Housing Authority has been around for a long time, and we're actually the largest provider of affordable housing in the community. So between our public housing program, our other types of affordable housing, and our voucher program, we serve thousands of households. I think about 9,000 individuals in the county receive affordable housing through one of our programs and or the properties that we own and operate. And I'll let Kathleen share a little bit about Brinshore as well.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Glad to join you guys virtually. I'm Kathleen Bohl. I'm a vice president with Brinshore Development. So we, as JD mentioned, are a national developer of affordable and mixed income housing. We've been around about 30 years as of this year, based in the Chicago area with regional offices. And I'm in our Denver office with a couple other coworkers here. So just one time zone over. But as JD mentioned, we specialize in working with housing authorities like the Reno Housing Authority to redevelop public housing into new apartment homes for families and individuals.
Thanks, Kathleen. All right, so here's some of the keeping me on my toes.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Then I go all the way through.
No, they're ugly.
I'll let the architect know. All right, so Hawkview Apartments is an existing site. It's right next to the former Hug High, which, as we know, is being redeveloped into the Technical Academy. There are currently 100 units there. And when it was built in the early 80s, it was built on not the best foundation. There are some serious clay issues there. So there are serious problems that site faces, to the point that it is more cost effective for us to demolish and rebuild rather than to try to rehab. The foundational issues make it nearly impossible to keep that 40-year-old affordable housing asset standing. So it is in serious need of investment. And we are undertaking about an $80 million project to demolish the existing 100 units and redevelop on that same site 200 units. It'll be a mix of 1 to 3 bedrooms, and all of the units will be reserved. It'll be income qualified, so it'll be for households that are low income. The majority will serve folks that are about 50% of the area median income. It will go up to 80%. And then a cool thing that happens, because this used to be public housing, we get additional subsidy that comes in, and it makes the rents even more affordable for extremely low income households. So we will have 99 vouchers that are attached to a unit. And if a household as low as about 20% AMI, which is a single person making $15,000 a year, right, or a larger household making a little bit more, but it's extremely low income, and that voucher will allow that unit to be affordable. And that household would only pay 30% of their income that would adjust with their income as it goes up or down. The housing authority will continue to own and operate similar to how we operate the property right now. And we will also have a part-time services coordinator that is on site. We are set, right now we're moving towards an August construction start date, and we're hoping to be completed and leased up fully by April of 2026. And then in terms of the location, some of you might know, we're right at the southern tip of Ward 4. I believe actually after redistricting, this will not be in Ward 4. This will, I think, fall into Ward 1, if I'm not incorrect. But it is right next to, it's in a corner there that's seen a lot of redevelopment. We have Debbie Smith Career and Technical Education High School that the school district is developing. And then right just to the east of it is another affordable housing apartment complex that opened up this year, Springview Vintage Apartments. So there's a lot of investment in the area. And we want to see that the neighborhood would be revitalized without the affordability going away with it as we bring more housing options into the community.
Playing games with me, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So this is a 3D rendering of the site plan. I'm going to stand up here a little easier to point. So this is the north side of the parcel. It's actually two parcels, but this is the north side of the site, south side of the site. It's 199 units technically, and we have about 210 parking spaces on this. We have a community center here in the middle, a community building that will have the leasing office as well as the services office, mail room, things like that. We have some higher density housing up here. It's on a grade, so we're using the grade in our favor, and we'll have 3 stories on the north side and a daylight unit, a garden kind of 4th story on the downside of these buildings up here that will open up directly into the courtyard. And then I think a part that I really like is down here on the southern end of it, we actually are including townhomes in the site plan. So it's a mix of different types of buildings. So it's not like a cookie cutter design by any means. We wanted it to have a more cohesive community feel. And for the sight lines, the lines of the roof are meant, if you look at it from the north, is meant to mimic the skyline of the Sierras actually. Yeah, and there's a ton of really wonderful green space. There's existing community gardens at Hawkview that are going to be set aside and preserved and be brought back on site once this is redeveloped. This is just another look at it. If you're nerdy like me and you like site plans, these are where the townhomes are. And that dotted blue line is where those daylight units, that additional 4th floor, or it's on the bottom floor there, but we still stick within the height limits. It's already zoned MF30. So everything you're looking at here is currently by right zoned. There's no conditional use or anything like that. And then I'll let Kathleen jump in and talk through just a little bit more of the design.
Yeah, so this is a perspective showing some of those walk-up apartment units, and you can see, the variations in roof line as JD mentioned. Next slide. Another version of the walk-up units, and one thing to note is the units will all have either a form of patio or balcony space, which I think is really unique and great about this development. Next slide. These are the townhome units. So these are 2-story individual townhomes, kind of shown through the trees here, unique perspective. Next slide. And then this is that central community building, which will have a community room, a fitness room, the leasing office, an office for a part-time resident services coordinator, and a small computer workspace. Next slide. And we wanted to just note that, in all the new construction work that we do, we strive to provide really great construction for, the long term and design. So all of the units and the whole development will meet current energy codes, including Energy Star appliances. We'll have large windows for nice natural light. I mentioned, there's green space across the property and then the balconies and patio spaces for units. And these are a couple examples of units within projects that Brenshore has developed. The upper right is in Denver. You can see a little view of the Capitol there. The one below that those are senior apartments in Omaha. Both those projects I worked on. And then this is an example of a fitness room in one of our Denver projects. Next slide. And as we mentioned, this is about just under an $80 million project. We have a variety of funding sources, including Home Means Nevada Initiative funds, 4% low-income housing tax credits, tax-exempt bonds, Federal Home Loan Bank, affordable housing funds, home funds that we are under consideration for through the county, and a deferred developer fee. Next slide. And that's it for what we've prepared. And JD will probably take it away on questions. And thank you all.
Thanks, Kathleen.
It's been a wonderful presentation. Jared Souther, for the record, one question I have is out of the current 100 units, how many are currently occupied?
We have currently 83 of those units are occupied, and we are providing robust permanent relocation for those residents. So they will continue to get rental assistance. They will be offered a couple of different options. They can choose to transfer to a different public housing site within the Housing Authority's portfolio. They can choose to get a housing choice voucher, which lets them go and find a private landlord that's willing to take the voucher. And there's a couple of other options available to them. And prior to lease up, any former resident who would like to gets kind of first dibs on moving back into those units. And particularly a unit with a project-based voucher. So their rent will be based on 30% of their income, just as it is currently in the public housing program.
Okay. I like the idea of the public community garden. I appreciate knowing that those that are there are going to be taken well care of as they move. So as they start construction, was it August that I saw?
Yeah, that's what we're aiming for.
Okay, and it will be a total raise at the same time and not allowing certain tenants to stay past a certain point.
We'll clear the site all just for safety and for also just for quicker construction, just rather than phasing, we're just clearing the whole site. And ensuring that folks are permanently relocated rather than living in a construction zone for a couple of years.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the board?
Kathleen Egan, for the record, I just want to commend you, and just for the public to know, the list of the funding that they added, it's really complicated. When people say, why don't we have more affordable housing? To line item to be able to fund these projects is so incredibly difficult. And people don't understand that to get investors, to get the bond credit, to get the tax credit, it's incredibly difficult and it takes years to happen. And I wish we would have more of a way to communicate to the public of how to get these projects done and the years that it takes and to line item these. I wish there was an easy answer, but just from one person, a community member to another community member, thank you. I know the effort that this took. I know that to pencil in to get this done and for our community is so incredibly important, because it's a mixture of those that have vouchers, because people will say Section 8, versus those that don't have to have a voucher, that because of their income limits. That is what people need to understand. You don't have to have, quote, wait for 2-3 years to get that voucher. You can qualify based on your income. And this is what we need more of, not to qualify for the voucher, but because of the income based. And I wish there was a PR firm that could like make this simple. So just from someone who's worked in this, thank you for doing this. And the only thing that I want to say is because of management throughout rural Nevada of 17 different properties, something in your P&L, something in your budget is that you have to address is security. And this is something that this is in the weeds, in the details, but Kathleen, for your local property managers, it is something that has become incredibly important to have security, that budget in there. You have a part-time residential, you need to have also someone that the 24/7 to come in, because the long-term community for these residents is to maintain a safe environment. And what we have found in rural Nevada that translates into here in the city is that if you have the security aspect, spending that money to have that, it actually reduces incidents and issues, so you have a safer environment for that community there. So spending that cost actually helps things overall. So if I can just put in a little thing for you to consider, it is well worth that in the budget.
I appreciate the kind words and the feedback, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John White, what do you consider the median income at this point?
What did it say again?
Median income?
So that's, I wish, this is one of those goofy things, so.
Every year it
AMI
changes.
Sorry, and so it's one of, I use so much jargon. AMI, area median income, is a number determined by HUD, Housing and Urban Development, on an annual basis. And they use a wonky formula that's based off of first a family of four. So they look at what's the median income for a family of four in this area. And then based on that, they adjust it. If it's a bigger family, if it's a smaller family. So right now, I believe the median income in Washoe County for a family of four is 67,000. That would be like 100%. And then you would go down from there. So this would be, you have to be income qualified at least 80% or 20% below median income would be the ceiling of income qualifications for this, and it would go down. With vouchers, it's likely that there are folks that we could serve with zero income, actually, because the voucher would actually pay their full rent. But yeah, there would be a wide variety of incomes that could live there, but it would be from 80% and lower.
And that varies.
Yeah, it varies and it changes year to year.
Quarter and so.
Yeah, it changes year to year, and it's based on the size of your household.
And John, Kathleen Ingham for record, these are federal, and this is something that you can look up. This is something that goes by not only within your state, but it goes in your area. So Reno Sparks versus Carson City versus Las Vegas. So every year, the federal guidelines change for not only income requirements, but also the rental requirements. So this is something that is not set by us locally. This is by federally. And every year, sometimes June, sometimes April, whenever they're going to get around to it, it changes for income and for rent. And it goes by per people for house and for income. So this is something that anyone can check year to year. That is something that is not up for grabs. It is actually set.
Okay. Thanks for that clarification. Did you have anything?
Ben Johnson for the record. I just want to say, I'm really happy to see some affordable housing coming in, because I think in the last 8 to 10 years, all the increase that we've seen from all the apartments has all been like luxury apartments, very expensive. And I don't think our community can really, the majority of the people in our community can afford those things. So seeing that develop is great.
Yeah,
really happy to see that.
I appreciate that. Right, and kind of a payback off that, I think folks get to define affordable, but when we say affordable, we truly mean affordable, part because of the way we're funded. There is a lot of requirements and guidelines around it. There's yearly compliance we have to meet and show that the folks meet that. And I think the great thing about us being able to go up to 80% AMI is that it's not a great thing, but what it is that first year teachers, second year teachers, there are a lot of folks who actually fall into those income categories that are struggling to find housing. Particularly as a new school is being built. So our vision is that there's a diversity of folks who get to live there, a lot of different income levels. So I appreciate that. And we really hope that it's something that increases the quality of life in the neighborhood.
And Kathleen Egan for the record, So affordable housing has had a bad rep in the past, especially if you say, oh, you're on a voucher or whatever. So think about it as workforce housing. Think about it as workforce housing, that you're the brand new first year on the fire department, brand first year as a teacher. You're making 35,000. Well, you look at the rent and you look at that. So when we talk about workforce housing, it is not that you're on a voucher. It's not that you're on subsidy. You don't have WIC. You're literally just that beginning in the workforce. So I think we need to change the language and our public's perception. And when our community says, oh my gosh, they're building, you know, we have people in our community that says, oh my gosh, we don't want that project. And, you know, it's the NIMBY. We don't want that in our backyard. We don't want projects in our backyard. We're not talking about, you know, projects. We're talking about people in our community and our kids and our grandkids and our people that are working at the warehouse, starting the workforce, that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's what us as a community can help with the conversation of how we change the language of an affordable housing is not a project with all these voucher people. So I think that's where we can help with your projects and our community and our neighbors, that we can help have that information.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone from the public who would like to make a comment about this project?
Question I have, the security thing.
Could you introduce yourself again one more time?
Daryl.
Thanks, Daryl.
And the security, what you said is fantastic, because I think it's important to you and ours a year.
Okay.
But definitely know that. How much of the percentage is it gonna be in-house construction from Nevada?
So all the subs are local subs. The frame is a local architect that's on this. Pavilion is the general contractor. Actually, let me take that. That's a different project. It's still frame, but we are yet to bid for the general contractor. So the general contractor.
Try and keep most of it in-house.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure, that as much as we can. It's a tight labor pool, but also we know that bringing folks coming from outside is also kind of a iffy proposition because one, just for reliability, but yeah, luckily we're working with several really solid general contractors and other projects. So we have a lot of interest on the project. We expect that it will provide a lot of really good jobs. This pays federal prevailing wage as well. So we have to meet Davis-Bacon requirements. So these are high paying jobs as well that are being brought into the community.
And what is your lock-in on rent stabilization? Is it gonna be a 3% even increase or anything else like that? Or what do you have on that?
So there's the limits that are set by HUD based off of AMI. There's no requirement on our end to increase it. I think right now we're projecting a potential 3% increase, but it really depends on the market, right? If the market starts to soften and we know we can't increase rents, but it would never be more than 3, because essentially if HUD adjusts the AMI usually in that range. So our window of rent adjustment is quite low. And honestly, what we're trying to do is just make sure the property can operate and we can continue to maintain it. We're not looking to make a profit off this. It's a mission driven.
You're gonna have the grounds person who will be part of that 24/7?
Yeah, we have a full-time,
No
we'll have
renewal, something.
1.5 full-time maintenance actually, and then 2 full-time asset management staff and 1 part-time resident services.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Becky Henry. So is there gonna be like specific cost, like your rent every month, or is it just based, you know, like, oh, if you start at the 1 bedroom, you know, it's like $500 a month. It's gonna be like between these certain amount of levels, or
Yeah.
is it just specifically based on your income?
So thank you. It's a really good question.
Thank
So about half the units will be set at, like this unit is a 60% AMI unit. It's a 2-bedroom. And what it means is gonna be like, this is the ceiling of what the rent is. And anyone who qualifies for that can come in and pay that rent. So that would be like what we would call an unsubsidized unit. It would be much cheaper than market rent, but there wouldn't be any adjustment based on your income. For those units that have those project-based vouchers, that basically brings in another funding source that lets us move the rent up or down based on income. So if someone lives.
Specific is still kind of variable.
Yeah, so if their income goes to 0 1 month, the subsidy would cover the full rent.
Oh, wow.
If their income goes up If their income goes up, then the subsidy kind of, it fluctuates with them as long as they maintain, as long as they're income qualified. So about half the units will provide that, and then the other half will be just based on your income. There will be rent limits based on the income that you have.
Is there any more projects planned? Like, this is, I think this is absolutely, this is like amazing.
I appreciate that.
Because, I'm sorry, like, we have so many warehouses coming in, so many people from out of state, and then they complain of like lack of housing. But the housing that they bring, the apartments are too expensive for Reno, when you make minimum wage. So is there more of this planned in other areas?
Yeah, so luckily, I think you might have seen some of the funding that we're receiving is Homies Nevada funds. So that is a $500 million from the state that was coming through the ARPA for the American Rescue Plan. So that's been making its way through, and it's spurred on a bunch of new projects that are kind of in the pipeline. So I definitely know the city of Reno would have stats on the number of affordable projects that are coming through their development pipeline. We have 9 projects in different phases right now. Several of those are rehabs of our existing public housing because they're all getting toward the 40-50 year mark, and we need to substantially rehab them. But we have some new construction as well. I think there are some projects here. I can, I'll leave my card, and if you have more questions, I'd love to share some resources or lists where you could see where some of these sites are coming online. So I'll be sure to leave some of my cards.
A lot of people that can use this in the community, so it's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you for the presentation. Just as a side note, this afternoon, I took opportunity to stop at Copper Mesa, which is the new construction at Red Rock exit, like 300+ units that are coming online, and got to take a little site tour of their reception area and visit. And so a lot of positives about having that. So
yeah,
thank you very much. Appreciate your time coming tonight. Thank you, Kathleen. All right, I'd like to move on to item C1 for the Cold Springs RV storage for the presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll leave these in case folks have questions.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, good evening. Thanks for having me. Derek Wilson on behalf of the project developer. So first, obviously there are people here that have strong feelings about the project. That's fine. I want to hear about it. I would rather that we can engage and talk rather than everybody just like in the room. So, and it's, to me, it's totally normal that there would be strong feelings. So that's not a surprise to me. I would hope that we could have a productive discussion about it. I'm always available after this meeting or, anytime during the week to discuss it. I've certainly met with project neighbors many times in the past. My goal here is to deliver information. So I'm going to say things that you disagree with. That's expected. If I rebut that, I'm trying to deliver you information. I'm not trying to tell you that you're wrong or that you're an idiot. I'm just trying to present to you the information that I'm working with. And this is information that's in the city zoning code. It's engineering practice. That's, city, state, county regulations that we have to follow. So, and professional, data at times. So these aren't my opinions generally. I'm not making things up. I'm not trying to snowball anybody, trying to have a useful exchange of information. So I expect people to speak up and I'll do the same. Next slide, please. So the goal here is a storage project primarily for RVs and boats. I think people are familiar with this site. Obviously, we are adjacent to the lake. In terms of being an effective site for storage, we're also adjacent to an arterial street, and we're very, very near the freeway. So those are the attributes that appeal to this developer. Next slide, please. This is a brief project description. 325 storage spaces. Most of those are enclosed. So 117 fully enclosed in storage type buildings. These are buildings that would be designed to accommodate these large vehicles. There's covered storage, pole barn type structures, And you've seen some of these around the neighborhood. There's one of these on Virginia Street, North Virginia Street now. And then a small number of uncovered storage spaces. It's a fenced, there will be a fenced secured site with landscaping, stormwater management, all the normal sort of engineering. Next slide, please. So this is the site plan. That's Village Parkway along the north side, that upper boundary. There's a small office building on site with a manager that'll be staffed during business hours. This will be normal business hours. It's not open 24 hours. These buildings here along the back of the site are the covered storage. So those are not regular buildings. Those are just covered structures. These will be the enclosed storage along the street frontage. Some more covered storage at that end, and then the office, and also a substantial stormwater retention basin, which we'll get into in a second. Next slide, please. That's a view of the site. Again, I think people are sort of familiar with this. You can see now in the current configuration, the site is almost level with Village Parkway. With the site grading, it would be brought up to essentially be level with Village Parkway. I'm sorry, could we wait a second? It's worth noting that there is some other commercial development in the area. There's also the freeway in the area. That's what makes this appealing. Next slide, please. That's a view of some of the buildings. I think this is going to change. This was provided by the building supplier. This is going to be dressed up somewhat to I think look a little bit better, mitigate some of those blank walls.
The height of that building is. Members of the audience, please limit your comments for now. There will be an opportunity for public comment after the presentation is over. And it'll be the same. You'll have 3 minutes. So if we could get through the PowerPoint, write down your questions, and we'd be happy to hear them. Thank you.
So I think we were talking about building height. Is that what I heard? Okay, so yeah, that's an important question. The maximum roof peak height would be about 19 feet. So that's comparable to residential construction. We're not talking about a huge warehouse. We're not talking about an Amazon warehouse. In fact, it's shorter than a lot of two-story buildings. Again, the grading in the after condition will be about the level of Village Parkway. So we're not going to raise everything 10 feet up. So there's no way that we're going to block a view of the mountains. I mean, you have to be next to the building. This site in the peak of these buildings is well below the level of the Village Parkway overpass. I think I'm going to flub the numbers, so I'm not going to give an exact number, but we're about at least 40 feet below the level of that existing overpass. So we're not blotting out the skyline. If you're on Village Parkway north of the project, yes, you won't be able to see the lake from right there. You can't look through the buildings and see the lake. So yes, if you're driving by, it will obstruct your view of the lake. We will not be blotting out the skyline. Next slide, please. This is the existing master plan designation. We're in that pink area, that SMU, that's suburban mixed use. So our site and some of the adjacent parcels are suburban mixed use, which means the city looked at this when they did their master plan years ago, and they designated our parcel and the others as suitable for city zoning and for development. And we're not changing any of this with the project. Next, please. Same with the zoning. We're utilizing the existing zoning. Again, this is general commercial zoning, and the city, through the public zoning process, designated this site as suitable for development. Next, please. Site features, we will have substantial stormwater retention capacity built into the project. So the city has rules on this and we have to follow them. So I'll give you some fake numbers. Let's say we generated 100 cubic feet of stormwater. We would have to retain that stormwater on site, except that we have to retain 130% of what we're estimated to generate. So if we generated 100 cubic feet of stormwater, we'd have to build retention capacity for 130 cubic feet. So we have to go above what we're expected to generate. So in other words, we're increasing stormwater capacity for the area. There are no houses adjacent to the site. There are houses several hundred feet away to the north. There are none that are adjacent to the site. Storage facilities are needed in the area. I think if you talk to any RV storage site, they'll tell you that they're full. The developer would not be pushing this project if you didn't think there was a market for it. So I think that adding these kind of services near where houses are and near the freeway is the best way to manage these sort of impacts. This avoids people having to drive long distances to get these sort of services that there's proven need for in the area. And then one more slide, please. So public outreach, obviously this presentation tonight. The city received a few emails that they forwarded to me, and I made individual responses to each of those emails. And then I also tracked down the Woodland Village HOA. That was the only organized HOA in the area that I knew of, and I sent them information about the project. I haven't heard anything back from them, and not from any residents. I've talked to their office. So if people, if you want to suggest other people that I should contact, I'm happy to do it. Again, I'd rather get the information out there. And then during public comment, there were some other issues raised. I'll be happy to address those if there are additional questions. I don't think it makes sense for me to try to address those right now, but traffic, that was one I should address. It was a little bit confusing for me to hear. It sounded like people said they wanted housing on this site, which would be a much bigger traffic generator. This traffic generation for this project is very low. It's something like 15 peak hour trips. So it's just not a huge traffic generator. I mean, it's way below what a convenience store or a coffee shop would be. Someone else mentioned the need for restaurants in the area. I've talked to a lot of developers, a lot of property owners. Everybody says that. I'm sympathetic to that. I hear it. The restaurant builders are aware of the North Valleys. They've looked at these parcels and they haven't pursued projects. So yes, I agree. That's a gap in the market. I would love to see that change. But that's not in our power to do it. We're just not getting approached by anybody that wants to do that. So I wish I had a solution there. I hate to be a pessimist, but I just don't see the interest there. So yeah, if somebody approached us and said they wanted to put a family restaurant here, we would listen. But we just not seeing those coming forward. So that's all I've got. I expect there'll be questions, and I'm happy to answer.
We'll start with the board.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Jared Souther for the record. And studying this area, I believe at one point there was plans for a car wash. Is that on the adjoining piece of property? Is that still moving forward, or?
I can speak. This is for the record, Jason Gillis, Tech Engineering. The car wash you're talking about is much farther to the east near the trust plant.
Okay.
Over by Walmart.
Okay. Anyone else from the board would like to?
Kathleen again. So I think what is important here is to be very, very transparent and very clear on when in the agenda, for example, it's asking for a, how do you say it? A conditional use permit.
Mhm.
And I think what is maybe confusing for the general public is what is currently zoned in our master plan that is allowed. What do we currently have that is absolutely allowed to be built here by anyone coming in? Versus what you're asking for a variance specifically, or a variance, which we have a lot that come up that ask for a variance for a master plan versus a conditional use permit. Because I think what is misinterpreted is thinking that someone that wants to build something and if we don't like it, that the city council person can go, nope, we don't like it. Well, if it's in the law and it's already in the zones, we don't have a stance on that. So that's the only thing that I wish that we could make somehow more clear of what is in the control of either the planning commission to say yes or no, the city to say yes or no, And I think that would help people understand when like, well, what did that city council person or why did that county, build that there and we don't like it there? There's rules and reasons that we have to work around of when we then fight and we all say, hey, let's get to that planning commission. We want to fight this variance, right? We don't want this to happen, right? And we want to control that vote, right? And there's other things that are within the law that we can't do. So I just want to have a little more information on this, what is currently allowed there, and what is a conditional use permit that you are requesting, and who is the entity that approves that?
That is the politest way I've ever been told that I gave an inadequate presentation. So,
I'm just asking for information.
yeah, no, that's great. The zoning code is complicated, so I couldn't possibly have
Yeah.
gone through all that, but
No fault of yours.
But you're right. I didn't do a great job with the conditional use permit is what we're asking for. So the zoning that's in place, general commercial, we're an allowed use with the approval of a conditional use permit. There are no variances involved. That's something different. If we wanted to build, I'd say a small office building, we could just go get a building permit. If we wanted to build a bunch of apartments, we'd be back here with another additional conditional use permit. If we wanted to build a drive-through, a gas station with a drive-through, conditional use permit. So there are, a small retail operation that just did like a salon, that would be allowed by right. So it's kind of a mix of what triggers the conditional use permit. In this case, the city zoning code feels that storage units require a little extra review, usually for to make sure the buildings look good and make sure the site is properly fenced and screened. That's usually what drives it. It's not traffic generation. It's not noise. Those are very low for this project. So that it's not grading in this case. Excuse me. So that's why we're here, for that extra level of review. We'll go to the planning commission in a month or so. And they have the final say on this unless the project is appealed, and then we go to city council and we do it all over again. And you're right, they can say no. If they just don't like it, they can say no. They have to give a reason, but they can usually find a reason if they don't like it. Some people, I gotta say, a lot of people go to planning commission and say, oh, these guys approve everything. That happens. There are nights when they'll approve everything. But what people in the public don't see is people like me and people like city staff who tell the terrible projects to take a jump, because you're never going to get approved. People come to me all the time and want to get billboards approved. I don't like them. I don't work on them. So those things get weeded out. So hopefully a project like this, by the time it gets to a hearing, we'll have the rough corners sanded off and it will be approvable. So I hope that was a complete answer.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to turn the time over to Victoria Luck, who is on the board and has her hand raised in Zoom.
Yes.
Just checking. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so my question just went back to the water retention for the site, and why is there a certain reason why you found it was beneficial to increase the water capacity around there? I only ask because they're already trying to reduce water in that area, the collection of it. So by retaining it, you're kind of adding to a problem, I guess you could say, for that area, if that's not what they're looking to do. I just speak on that because of the situation with Silver Lake and how that all turned out, building so close to the lake, retaining the water, and now we can't get rid of it. So for the long view, how does your property hold up with that?
So the project engineer is here and he's itching to give an engineering lecture, so I'm gonna let him speak.
Try not to make it a lecture. Jason Gillis, Tech Engineering, for the record. By code, we're required to retain 130% of the stormwater that we would generate, as Derek said. So
yeah, by code, I guess I kind of mean if you're looking for long view for your location, are you going to go above what you're coded to do, or are you going to look for the future.
So ultimately, the reservoir that's right adjacent to the property is the receiving body for all the stormwater in the area. So we're gonna end up adding to the storage capacity of the reservoir. That's the long-term approach here. So the basin holds X right now. When we're done, that basin's gonna hold X plus whatever we provide on our site. It's a little different than a property that would be like a mile away, simply because we're next to the receiving body. But ultimately, we will end up increasing the storage capacity of the playa.
Victoria, does that answer your question, or do you have a follow-up there?
No follow-up. I got that. Thank you.
John?
John White, for the record. 35 years ago, when I was on the county advisory board, which what that area was, we were dealing with developers, and some people wanted to go on the east side and the north side. We were able to discourage them because you're people all using the wrong terms. I drive by the Silver Lake Playa all the time, and that's White's Lake Playa. These are not water bodies. They have, for every once in a while, a 100-year flood, and they get wet. Most of the time I went to the YMCA, so I've been in that area a few years ago. It's been dust, alkali dust everywhere. All wind blows hard. You get near Silver Lake Playa, and it was dry and dry and dry. Now it's had water. People sometimes don't understand these things don't maintain all that water. And construction on that side would be fine because the winds blow mostly from the west. And they aren't going to pick up and move the dust into habitable areas like that. So yeah, this construction looks like a good idea as compared to what I've had to deal with in the past from all that. So, like I said, people see water and, oh, no, it doesn't always stay in this area.
Agreed. It's definitely cyclical. I've lived here my whole life. There's times when that lake bed, that playa is gonna have water, and there's times when it won't. As part of the conditions of approval for this conditional use permit, we'll have to go to FEMA and deal with floodplain and prove we're out of the floodplain. We'll have to satisfy NDEP because water's the state, not Army Corps. And we'll have to satisfy them as to, water quality. There's all these other jurisdictional agencies that we have to go to next after this conditional use permit to actually prove and meet their regulations. So to some of the questions related to floodplain and environmental and city code, this is a step in the process. It isn't the final say.
Ben Johnson for the record. I know there were some questions about it, so I just wanted to reiterate the question. Did you guys do a traffic study on how much traffic can be generated for the storage units?
So we're way below the city's trigger for requiring a traffic study.
Okay, so you guys didn't have to do one?
We did not have to do one, but nonetheless, I did some research on my own with my original application to the city. And so there's a little problem here. When you do a sort of on the shelf data study, like I did, I'm taking data from across the country, and I make an estimate based on that data. And there's a regimen for applying how you calculate that data. I came up with 81 average daily trips. The problem, any traffic engineer around here will tell you, Reno almost never hits those national averages. It's very hard for me to believe that 25% of the customers of this site will come every day to get their RV. That doesn't make sense to me. But nonetheless, that's a safe number that we're gonna use. So maximum of 81 average daily trips. But even that number is pretty low. A Starbucks might be 2,000 daily trips.
Thank you.
Jared Souther, I have a follow-up question. You said earlier in your presentation that it wasn't going to be a 24-hour access site. Is that correct?
Right.
So what are the hours of operation?
So standard City of Reno hours of operation are 6 a.m. to 11 at night.
Okay.
They may just, I'm guessing they've reduced that a little bit. I don't think there's gonna be a lot of people there at 11 at night.
Okay. All right, thank you. I saw a hand raised and I'd like to turn the time over to public comment. Ma'am, you had your hand raised earlier. Would you like to ask a question or?
Yes, I'd like to know, have you considered, now that you've shown us the construction, that what you propose for the RV units will actually expose them more to the alkaline soil that has been mentioned, and the winds in Cold Springs can be very vicious on the property of the people who supposedly put their precious items into your storage units. Has this been considered? And I will say my personal experience, and I've only been here 8 years, I have seen water from White Lake almost to Village Parkway. So that, you know, will flood. Again, the property of someone else entrusted to you is exposed to that danger. What is your response?
My response is, I'll be honest, I know nothing about alkaline dust and RVs.
You should. This is Nevada.
In all seriousness, I appreciate the point. I'll raise that with the developer. Yeah, that may be a new issue for them too.
Can you state your name, please?
My name is Louise Suprunt from Cold Springs.
I guess to follow up on her question, is there a plan to raise grading to elevate that pad from where it is, or how's the pad being prepared?
Jason Gillis. The building that you see that fronts the roadway, that is raised to above the floodplain level. It is within a foot and a quarter of the actual center line of the roadway. You can visualize that. The one end, it's a little bit below the road, the other end, it's a little bit above. So it pretty much matches that, and that is above the floodplain by 2 feet. The entire parking area is set to be above the floodplain period. So the lowest end of it is at the floodplain. And I can tell you this, I've never seen the floodplain in my 50 years of living here hit that number because the highway would be flooded. So, but that's me, that's my personal experience.
Okay.
So let's say we get 3 inches of water in a parking lot.
Okay.
You drive the RVs out.
Yep. Okay.
It's not a light safety issue.
No, that is true. It's more of property value and insurance and things like that. Additional comments from the public, sir in the back. Yes, please introduce yourself again.
And I live in Cold Springs, but it's about White Lake Estates, which is another joy, about 2,200 homes. Snow load.
When they do the structural counts for the buildings, it'll be the standard.
Snow load, yes.
Be the standard snow load that the building department requires for every bit of construction in the area. Dead load, live load, wind load, seismic, they hold those buildings to the same standards.
Your drainage that you just had, that you're saying that you're gonna be able to hold, they just put a drainage pipe from the new, this is why they've been redoing the roads on that freeway right there. They just put in the new drainage piece, the culvert that comes right across. In fact, people have probably seen it, was a large truck drilling everything across. That's one of the programs I was on. That's for the new housing across the street. So when you think about the housing, it's a housing where the ranch is across the freeway. You know where that housing is supposed to be? That's where it's supposed to be. The drainage it just puts in, and if you saw Virginia, it just paid Virginia for that reason as well too. But they still have to finish it. Your drainage is gonna be correct right now because of the fact that that drain they just put in is gonna increase the volume of water going back to the lake. 2.5 years ago, when we had 4 feet of snow coming out there, that lake was almost to the top of the rim over at the lake. This year it's been staying. I've been out there for 25 years being in homes. The first 15 years I was there, you could blow dust everywhere you wanted to. In the last 10 years, 7 out of 10 have been full with water. Now your new runoff that you have that's coming from the pipe they put in might be a big problem that you guys are gonna have. You won't be able to compete with that.
We're
My other question-
absolutely aware of the drainage. Sorry, I missed you. Start over there.
South side of the trust company, the big section that you want to put your car wash, aren't you building next to him? Well, that's out of the plan.
Well, I believe that's part of the list of properties.
That's an open area too, and asking for warehouses or anybody else wants to build.
My client owns this piece of property.
I understand that,
Okay.
but that might be a wrong spot for when people have traffic in the morning at 6 a.m. coming home at 6 p.m. So you might want to watch that.
Thank you. Ma'am, introduce yourself.
Beck Marco for the record. How many jobs is this gonna create? Because that's another desert that we have in Cold Springs is a job desert essentially. And very minimal employment opportunities. And so that's another question that I've had a lot of people ask me. How many jobs?
It's essentially one full-time person. Yeah, I mean, it's not a huge generator.
It's a parking lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was, wanted to see if I could remember. Let's look at them.
Thank you.
Any other public comment either present here or on Zoom at this time?
Seeing none, Mr. Chair.
All right. Thank you very much for your feedback. I appreciate everyone being here tonight. Ma'am, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand. Go ahead.
Yes, this is very important. Mr. Wilson, you said, if you have questions, please contact me. Please provide everyone with that contact information. This is Louise Supran asking.
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to give my email address. You can also send an email to the city and they send them to me, but I should have written this in there, but want me to write it down and give it? It's kind of long, is all.
I think you speaking yes, and I will scribble it and then ask you later. Thank
Got it.
you.
Okay. It's dwilson@rubiconddesigngroup.com. All one word, no caps.
Thank you.
Additionally, I do want to let you guys know that this project is anticipated to go to the planning commission on March 6th, 2024. But again, anticipated. So if you would like to give public comment regarding the project at that date, you're more than welcome to as well. And we're going to move on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we're now at the opportunity to hear a presentation on item B2, which is a review, discussion, and possible recommendation of artists for the Sky Vista banner project. Leading up to that, I just want to say that I recognize in the news that there was a ribbon cutting for the Sky Vista Parkway. We missed that opportunity to go to that. Love to be part of those moments.
Yeah, we love RTC projects.
Tell us about it.
How
How do they tell us about it so we can know about it instead of just seeing it after the fact?
Well, it's an RTC project. That's what we need for the record. So, Abby, can we let the NAP know when RTC lets us know about these?
If they let us know.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's.
Well out here.
All right, everybody. So I know previously at our last meeting, it was discussed and kind of how Mr. Chair stated. So Sky Vista roundabout and that whole area was approved for projects, and all the North Valleys projects can be found at northvalleysimprovements.com. Specifically, the Sky Vista widening began from the previous council member and RTC commissioner. So when this was decided, it was brought to RTC in 2020. So Sky Vista itself, the project, as you heard us mention, is RTC funded and planned. So once they completed the roundabout and the expansion, or they're still doing it, they included 14 poles that would hold or host artwork. So Councilmember Ebert thought it was super important to have some representation here in the North Valleys regarding that artwork. So the completion of the roundabout occurred earlier in January. And today we're here to discuss the applications. So we had the applications open in January and they actually just closed yesterday evening. So we gave everybody ample time. We received 19 applications. With the applications, there are multiple designs. So each design is different. So we're here just to speak about your guys' input and feelings, and art is subjective, so I know that it can get, everybody has different opinions. I do want to note that for the record, applications 0004, 0006, 0007, 0009, 0010, and 0018 are no longer being considered. When we had these applications listed, there were some requirements. Some of those, and you'll see the questions when we go over them, but they were based on the quality of the design and relevance to the North Valleys and the North Valleys community. Community members were asked to provide input. Additionally, when the banners are printed, they need to meet certain dimensions. So if the artwork submitted or the photos submitted or whatever was submitted does not meet those, they would get disoriented. So those were taken into consideration when these applications were removed. So just the criteria and the printing portion were the two things. But today, like I said, we're here to review the rest of the applications. I'll go through them all together. We have a little bio from the artist to, we wanted local artists. and then their artwork, and then we'll have a group discussion. I know there's a lot to go through, so write down your favorites, write down your comments, and then we'll get into it.
Oh, real quick, Councilwoman Able for the record, how many polls do we have?
14.
14, okay.
Yes, and this will be decided later on, so please let us know again your favorite one. But realistically, we could have different banners on each one, but again, would that look cohesive? What are you looking for? Different artwork, one solid one, those are questions or things to consider when we get into discussion.
So, are all the art pictures already out there?
Yes, ma'am, they're in the packet, they're found online, and there's a couple extra packets out there, and like I said, I'll have them here as well.
That's a drag, because my granddaughter would be good at it.
Yes, so and I'll pull up the website as
Write
well.
it.
Yes, and they're still looking for artwork for the roundabout. So the roundabout, so right here, as you can see.
Oh, okay.
So they are still looking for artwork. The city of Reno does a great job for local artists who are looking to get a couple extra bucks. There's a website where we put our call for artists. It's what they're called, and anyone can submit whatever type of art. So obviously these were specific to banners and digital artwork, but sometimes it's photos, sometimes it's structures. So again,
Is
super
it like City of Reno / art or
yeah,
something?
yeah, it's our art page, and it'll say call for artists. Yeah, so here is the location. You'll see the roundabout here, and the banners will be along Sky Vista on the roadway.
What's roundabout? There's 500 here, it seems like.
The new one, the newest one. Perfect.
Okay.
So these were the application questions. They were asked to submit a brief bio and include any connections that they may have had or have to the North Valleys, and then an explanation of their art, because again, art is subjective.
Okay.
So our first gentleman is Seth McCorkle. He works and lives instead, and he created a mix of media portraits with a couple of aspects of Western Tanger and old travel campers. I'll show you the art.
Kathleen Egan,
Yes, ma'am.
Abigail, are you going to skip over the ones that you've already said were already
Yes, ma'am. So they're not in my presentation. So
Okay.
they'll go, well, you won't even see them.
Okay.
So this is this gentleman's. Very cute.
It's pretty cute.
Awesome.
Is it real?
Ruby Rojas, resident of North Valleys, grew up here, student attending TMCC. She wanted to showcase the local wildlife in the area. Yeah, warm colors, reflect the community. It's this one.
That's cute.
Ian Harrison, local visionary artist raised in the hills of Spanish Springs. Had a different concept for crystal specimens, so he focused on amethyst, citrine, quartz, so all the rocks up here. So again. Very different. Audrey Kajasta, and I'm so sorry if I'm butchering their name if they're on. Acrylic painter, moved to the North Valleys in 2020, loves the area, loves spending time here, and she asked people in the area what they would like to see. And obviously the Reno State Air Races was something that she heard a lot about. So there's that one.
Cool, I like that.
That's a good one, air races.
Kendall Leslie loves painting, animals, landscapes, lots of art things, and her banner includes 2 local animals and plant landscapes.
Would that be submitted with the color? Sorry, Ben Johnson for the
No, you're
record. Would it just be like, and when that's put on the banner, would that be just the drawing as it's shown there, or would the artist be adding color to it?
So I think this artist may have misinterpreted the application because the other ones are complete, right? So we'd have to go back to her and be like, please submit a complete one. This is obviously just a concept, but with the turnaround time, yes. So
Thank you.
hopefully you would have color. I would assume yes, but this is obviously just a concept. Brian Meltzner, wildlife photographer. So you'll see some of these are maybe photos. Would like to create a banner with bold headers, Swan Lake. Yada. Oh, sorry. I think that one was one of the ones we removed.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I'll just skip him. Victor Leal, born in Querétaro, Mexico, moved to Reno in 2009, lives in the North Valleys and loves Tahoe and historic Nevada. This one's a little hard. So what the submission is a white rectangle. So the background, so all of this, it would be white. Yes, I know it's kind of cool. It blends into the presentation.
I was thinking a little gangster going on.
Yeah, that's what reminding her.
Jordan Owens, Reno-born artist, photographs mediums to explore the connection. Don't forget to remember as a title for art honors ancestors who were discriminated based on skin color, honoring ancestors and enduring presence. Sarah Geisler, local artist in Reno Truckee Meadows area, been painting and illustrating for over 20 years, grew up in rural Nevada. North Valleys reminds her of home. She showcased local wildlife, plant life, that she would associate with the North Valleys and bringing a sense of peace tucked away from life in a bigger city.
That's very good.
You see the horse? Go back.
Really cool.
Shush. Shush, there are, just go over the hill.
Yeah, I thought the same, but yes. And any input, like we could always go back, you know,
Yeah.
and if this was your guys' favorite, and you're like, no horse, Mr. White, yeah. Mr. White really didn't want a horse, like maybe we could ask her. Yeah.
We just like do like one of each, like narrow it down to 14.
So
I think that options are neat. There's some good ones.
So I would really love to be able to do a different one on each bowl, but I have to pay each artist $500 for
Oh.
each one I pick, and my discretionary funds are limited. So I'm open to doing more than one, but I probably can't realistically do one on each bowl. As much as I would love to, believe me, I wish I could.
Yeah,
I know. So when you guys are saying stuff, I'm like writing down what you guys say real quick, you know, like.
I like the crazy, but I like this one too.
I know I can. I mean, I like all. Which do those two?
No, we can do more than one. More than
Yeah, yeah, but I can't do like.
14.
14 would be an
We
individual.
need air races some.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, this,
Historic.
sorry for my, but
Do more than two,
Yeah.
but 14 is like.
No, let's bring this back together and we
Sorry.
can,
Go to discussion.
good discussion.
Yeah, I know, they're super exciting. It's super awesome.
Okay.
14, April Gratrix, lived in Nevada for 6 years, used nature and inspiration to create artwork. Concept of the banner is based on photograph of the regional park in North Valleys, which is, the roundabout is the entrance to the regional park. And here's this one, sorry, I know this is in the way.
Yeah.
Sorry, okay, well. Enough of that one.
yeah.
15 is Adriana Pereira, colorful drawings inspired by Filipino heritage and suburban Reno upbringing, grew up in the North Valleys. The concept is blank eyes view, where a child and a bird are looking through the same lens. Same thing with this one, so the background is white, so it'd be
Yeah, what?
white rectangle.
Interesting.
Evelyn Cromaker, additionally, there was no, so you'll see her name multiple times because she submitted multiple ones. So there was no limit. They could submit as many as they wanted, as little as they wanted. But she submitted multiple, so we'll see those. But she's a graphic designer, photographed in Reno for 36 years, BFA. And design showed juxtaposition of flora and fauna, along with Swan Lake, Golf Zoo, strong bold colors, lots of stuff regarding the North Valleys. So additionally, it's like as Councilmember Ebert mentioned, it's 500 per design. So these are labeled per design, but she obviously made them as a set. Again, so it just depends on your guys' opinion. If you liked one and somebody else's one, whatever, you could pick 016A or all of them.
Do we have a zebra at the zoo?
Say, where's the zebra? Oh, it's at the zoo.
Well, there's
huh?
two places. There's a zoo and there's a wildlife park out on
Yeah,
Red Rock.
true.
There's two places and they, I can.
Yeah.
I read the brochure, but I'm not
I don't
absolutely
remember
sure.
a zoo with the
I know they got
one.
Jaguar. lions.
They don't have to give.
Oh. Give them a zebra.
I don't- yeah.
Or we can change it to a horse, Mr. White, since you love horses.
Yeah.
Yeah, like wild horse.
Certain places they are at.
Yeah.
We actually do have a mountain lion. We have our North Valleys mountain lion.
Change it to a
It's
mountain
one,
lion?
we do, we have video proof of our mountain lion
Some-
here in the North Valleys. It's got a 40,
Coyote. Even out
acre.
Coyote that I heard last night.
No, someone would shoot the banners, Megan. Someone would shoot the
Next presentation.
Yes.
Oh, God, yeah.
So Evelyn again, same background, but a different one. So the art is different. So the skyline of clouds touching the mountain, city and rural lights at dusk and dawn. So she created a mirage.
Coyote is Native American.
So this is her skyline.
Yeah.
No.
And then last one is Iba Marad, freelance artist on Dream Journey illustrating children's books, moved to Reno last year for her place at Swan Lake Nature City area, tundra swans on Swan Lake. So lots of swan inspiration. Perfect. All right, Mr. Chair, we can begin discussion.
Thank you very much for this presentation. I have Jared Souther for the record. I understand that budget is important. One question is that what do we anticipate the longevity of these banners? How long will they be livable? And is there additional funds that would be used in 2025 or 2026 to replace these and renew the presentation?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Mr. Chair. Those are great. I am no subject matter expert when it comes to the arts. So I will get back to you, but I know that they are built to last. We just did some with the Aerial Art Gallery a year and a half ago. So I think their longevity is 8 years. Don't quote me, please, for the record. But I will double check and get back to you regarding longevity. Budget, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, we have a question about size, but I guess I know that you said it was gonna be along Sky Vista, knowing the travel path of how far it is, like, is it all the way from Vista Knolls to Silver Lake, or is it, how far are they stretched apart?
Right.
And then the question is, in addition to this beautiful artwork, could we do seasonal decorations on those poles
So
as
those
well?
poles are strictly for art. I know that in different areas, the poles have to be different. There's additional arms or things required. So those poles were in place by RTC. So they're gonna be maintained. But for example, in Midtown, I know they have the snowflakes. Those banners don't have those extra arms. So they're strictly for banner artwork. And then the size is 14 by 60. And there are 7 on each side. So it's not 14 all the way across, it's 7 and 7.
Okay. Any questions from the board or any comments at this point in time?
Kathleen Egan, I've just been a little confused. When you say there's 14 and there's 7 on each side.
Yes.
If one design is chosen, we're gonna see that same design 7 times?
Yes. So you'd see the same design 14 times. So what I was thinking is maybe I do 7 designs.
Like how much money you got?
Yeah.
To pick a couple.
Cause I have to do $500 per design for the artist, and then I also have to pay to print them and get them installed.
So for how much money you got, you might be able to pick a couple of.
Yes, so I'd like to do, I think I could do 7. It's gonna be $500 per design. I would like to reach out to that one that I think everybody liked for designs and see if you could do a coyote. I think we all see a lot of coyotes out.
And the
there.
air-
Those $400 or $500?
And the airplane one, could the one with the airplane?
Yeah.
I think could, with a little bit more.
Yeah,
Or pizzazz.
yeah.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I think having the airplane or air races represented would be so incredibly meaningful to us.
I was hoping.
And
for
it was
more.
just that, it was more like a cartoon thing, but the concept is
Yeah.
wonderful. I just, not that my opinion matters, but I think I speak for a lot of my neighbors that
We would love
it
it.
is
Yeah.
really, emotional for us that we've grown up here and our kids and our
We don't get them
grandkids.
anymore. I
That
know.
somehow as a memory, and new people may never even know, why do we have an airplane up there? But for those of us, it's kind of a
We'll know.
nostalgia. Yeah,
Okay.
not, we can't always get what we want.
So this one though, it's $500 per art or is it
square.
for the artwork?
Per
For the
square.
artist? Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so it's one artist, but each square would be $500. So if we just want I think it's cool to have the golf one there. I'm still fighting for the golf course.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with
Hopefully
that just because you're fighting for the golf.
Stay there. I like the yellow flowers. It's kind of like, is that a wildflower? Is that a sage? Is it a dandelion? It's kind of like all of those things really. The swan. It's nice.
Lake, it needs more water.
Yeah.
Yes, please, Abigail.
So but from what I'm hearing, we like these.
Yeah.
Swan, zebra, we want to switch. I think that in order for cohesiveness, we could reach out to this artist who obviously has submitted multiple ones and ask her to adjust some of her designs.
Yeah.
The zebra, and maybe instead of the swan one, a plain one.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
See, and actually, see, we're on the migratory path. She can actually choose something that actually
Comes through.
comes through here.
Okay.
I agree.
So does everyone agree with that? We reach out to her and see if she can come up with 7.
And just to ask a question, as we make some recommendations and choices here, what is the time frame for production that we were hoping to get these banners activated, and is it feasible?
Whatever you guys want.
Okay.
Whenever,
Okay.
What we obviously, but better weather would be best, but it would depend on the turnaround from the artist. And
I think the flowers would be really neat though, more if they were like purple, because I feel like the
purple
ones are
one.
more indigenous
So
than the yellow.
Nevada wild, you just Google it and you will see a variety. In fact, you go up to Antelope Valley or anywhere up, you see like in the springtime, just the flood of lavender or the flood. So
I always see a lot of yellow because of the sagebrush.
so it could be specific, but I think with her skills, if you suggest for our air races,
Okay, yes, okay.
that
so
she would have the
we-
skills to, and then the theme, see how it's kind of like the same, not as like my favorite art, but I'm thinking that if you want to have more of a thematic,
Yeah.
that the
yeah.
same artist to use just different, that would make more sense.
Yeah.
I Ben Johnson, I actually kind of disagree. I think it would be really nice to have
Different.
a lot, like all of them almost
Like
different.
different?
And I would, but kind of similar though. So different artists, for example.
I like-
You like that.
Sarah,
Where's the one with the
Geisler?
horse?
right? Yeah, actually, that's exactly what I was just talking about, right? So it kind of it's colorful with animals, right?
See,
So it-
See,
yeah, it
I
goes
love,
with.
that's my favorite one,
Okay, I would go that one and then like the air races.
but I wouldn't want to see it 14 times.
No,
no.
no.
Well, that's what I meant, not having the same artist.
I kind of like that. It gives me Reno Envy vibes, like the store Envy, Reno Envy downtown.
No, we're not having the one with the
That's what the trailer.
trailer. We're not having the trailer. We already have those dumped.
In the valley.
Yeah, right. Those are already dumped. We're not having the trailer dumped.
All I can say is thank God.
All right.
Because I think it's corny.
Some great
So
conversation
I
here.
like this one has a robin too, so we can have a lot of robins out here.
Yeah, I got Robin's.
So 0013 and 0016 with some additions.
Because you have the opportunity to choose in your budget.
Yes.
And someone who has that capability, maybe they could.
Maybe they could give us the air race.
I personally, looking at the conversation we're having about recommendations, 0014 by April, the North Valleys Regional Park. Adding some flowers to that, taking away some of the shrub might be an opportunity for representing what we have as an entrance to that North Valleys Park.
Victoria?
And
Could I see 0005?
Well, real quick before we go off that one, if we go back, sorry, the only problem I have with this one is it kind of reminds me of a park brochure. Which is fine, but is that really what we want to go for? I just want to call that, like, I get like the feeling when you go, visit a park and you get your little map. I don't know.
Got it? Too much on the banner of the name, or
Yeah,
can you
it's.
put a bird in there, something like that, migratory birds? I don't know.
So my favorite thing of the North Valleys Regional Park,
Yeah.
my favorite thing is driving by and seeing the big giant plane at the water park
Yeah.
that flows the water.
Yeah.
Okay, because the kids, we have soccer. I like people. We have soccer, we have the water park,
Yeah.
we have the plane, and then it fills up and then it splashes over.
No.
So when I think of the regional park, I don't think of going up backpacking into the wilderness. That's like that backpacking trip way back 10 miles east. I think of people. My regional
Okay.
park is actually people and community,
Yeah, okay, got
but
it.
I'm opinionated.
Oh, you.
Really?
Sorry.
Victoria, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Victoria, which one did you want to see?
number 5.
I just want a plane, but I don't like
Yeah,
that.
that's the one I was looking for. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I want a plane, but I don't want that.
Okay,
Yes.
well, we'll ask that other one. that did the
Sorry.
Zebra, we'll ask her to turn her zebra into an airplane.
Right? Like an actual one, like we have beautiful representation of, I mean, decades of historic planes, biplanes, I mean, there's just so much that.
Yeah, yeah.
Abstract
No, we
art.
get it.
Abstract.
What do you guys think about the bunny one?
I like that.
I like the
With
bunny.
The hair.
I do like the bunny.
I want to take my 22 out. I can say that here.
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
With a permit.
Go ahead, Victoria.
I get it.
Yeah, there
Megan,
are.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to reach out to like Rah or anything and see if they would donate something to like, cause they have that last thing that they're doing, right? This upcoming year?
Yeah, they're doing.
I don't know if I'm allowed to take donations for this kind of stuff.
Okay, gotcha.
I mean, if
Just
I
a
could
question.
get donations, like I would do 14 different pieces of art, but there's restrictions on what I could do.
Oh,
Okay.
we don't know what the center is gonna be yet, do we?
No, we don't.
That would be
Oh.
kind of great if we could cohesive all that together.
Yeah.
So it's, all right. well,
Yes, it's
it is
still
what it is.
You're onto something.
It's that one was a little bit more.
When the county got our splash park, how did they get that big fake plane for our splash park?
I don't know.
Very good. All right.
Lane in the middle of the roundabout.
So next steps on this is
Having
having.
keep people out of it though.
Yeah.
Put some little bird spikies on there so they can hold themselves. Gotta learn the hard way sometimes.
Board members, members of the public, if you would like to consolidate your opinions after looking at these more, please send them over to me or Councilmember Ebert, and we'll kind of come back together, review your guys' recommendations, and then hopefully bring some beautiful artwork to the North Valleys. And Ben, I think it's a great idea for the roundabout. So I'll check the status and maybe we can see that or get your guys' input or when they're coming or whatever. So perfect.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chair, I think we are done business. Moving on.
Yeah, so item number 4, board commission committee member reports and announcements. Does anyone on the board have any reports or announcements they'd like to share tonight?
I do not.
Okay, seeing none, item number 5, future agenda items.
We had, Kathleen Egan, we had discussed that we were going to look at the calendar for a cleanup date at a specific park
Yes.
or something.
So we have our City of Reno ward cleanups that occur in the spring and the fall. So those will be happening as regularly scheduled. So we'll get those dates as soon as possible. I know that KTMB came and did a presentation regarding opportunities for community members to participate and pick a park. So we're consolidating that list and his contact information to promote that, as that is a separate organization and entity. But when it comes to our community cleanup, we would love for you guys to participate and volunteer. Once we get that list, we'll send it over. They obviously have their ongoing events and their citywide events, countywide events. And he is launching new programs. I think it's every third Saturday, where he's doing cleanups at different parks and stuff, where you don't have to come with a group, whether you can just show up. They pick a park and it'll be on a rotating basis.
I think that would be a good way of how we communicate to share so many things that I see a picture after, like on the City of Reno webpage, like on Facebook and stuff. I'll see it afterwards. It's like, oh, I didn't hear about it in advance.
Yeah.
I know the city has a media crew but Nextdoor, Facebook, I don't know.
Local news.
And I don't watch TV, but I am online. But somehow to communicate, in advance, especially like the electronic places to dump things and I don't know the answer, but how we can help communicate better.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and we're not gonna have, Councilmember Ebert for the record, sorry, we're not gonna have like the funding this go around for the electronic waste and the hazardous waste. That was something that was covered with ARPA funds. So we're not gonna have it this time around. So I'm trying to find out.
Alternatives.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to see if
Okay.
we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have the regular dump and stuff like that.
But and even if we can get that information to the NAB, like we post as just personal private citizens on different community sites, you know, we can help with that. I'm just trying to help instead of just always afterwards, just like, I've got this damn TV I need to dump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't go bark it on the
Sorry.
backside of the 95.
Don't do that.
All right.
We finally got the boat removed on Silver Lake.
Benjamin had his hand up and I'd like to turn the time over to him.
Yeah, Ben Johnson, I guess it was just coming back to the roundabout, so just getting an update on that.
Yes, I can.
On how that's going, what do we even know what it'll look like? Do they have applicants and whatnot? Yeah.
I could tell you that there's been a lot of applicants. I talked to Megan, is it?
Yes, Bernard, yes.
Bernard. We have so many Megans. She said that when I talked to her on Tuesday, that they had 81 applicants.
Whoa.
And it wasn't closed yet.
Yeah.
So, you know, look how hard of a time we just had with some partners. I can't imagine what they're going through with, you know, 81 plus.
Okay.
Yeah, and this one will go to the Arts and Culture Commission.
Yeah.
This one was unexpected, which is why Councilmember Ebert graciously agreed to pay for with her discretionary. But this one was allocated for in the budget. So it will go through Arts and Culture Commission. So I can.
The roundabout.
Yes, the roundabout. So we'll get you those dates. So.
And the Arts and Culture Commission will advise and then the full council will vote on this?
That's a good question.
Like who,
I think we just vote to approve it.
like who votes to
Yeah,
approve
the
it?
council will vote to approve the recommendation. But we won't make the recommendation, like, we're not gonna see.
So the arts,
all of it.
whoever the people are on the Arts and Culture
Culture
Commission that are like volunteers like us,
And I think.
but
is
they're
it
based throughout the
Councilmember
city.
Price that's on there?
So they're not from the North Valleys. So the Arts and Culture Commission for the city of Reno is going to vote on the art we're gonna have in the North Valleys.
Mhm.
You getting my
Councilmember
segue?
Reese is on that board, so I would recommend you reach out to Councilmember Reese.
Okay, Devin.
Ask him to.
Sorry.
Yeah, so with the public art process, it actually starts at the subcommittee. So Megan Berner came to propose the project to the Ward 4 NAB. They got public input, they had the survey open, and at this point, they did the call for artists. So once those applications close, it will go to the subcommittee. Similar to what we did prior to coming to the NAB, we eliminate whatever it may be based on requirements. So if they don't meet the requirements or whatever there's a certain budget, like it's gonna be over budget, those will be eliminated based on that.
It's a big budget though. It's
Yeah.
a good
Yeah.
budget.
And then it will go to Reno Arts and Culture Commission with those not new applications, but the ones that they chose. I know that the Reno Arts and Culture Commission has separate requirements to be on that board. I think they have additional, like, you need to have an art degree or something in that realm. But like Councilmember Ebert says, the liaison is Councilmember Reese at this point. And then it'll come to council for approval.
Of the recommendation
Of the
from the
yes.
committee that
Yes.
are people from throughout the area, but not necessarily from our North Valleys. That's the only point I wanted to make is
Yeah.
that
Thank you.
But we'll get you those dates so you guys are aware, public comment, review them, all the same processes.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Anyone else, Victoria or anyone else for?
Public comment.
Yep. All right. Item number 6, public comment, 3 minutes. Anyone else would like to have any opportunity to speak? Any topic, please.
So I don't know the next time, like, if NDOT or if you're swinging back by, or what kind of pole we have here. But, you know, I hear the construction on 395s a year to a year and a half-ish, whatever. But one thing I found that is problematic, I think, for a lot of us is the light timing at Bonanza and Far Boulevard. It'll back up either to 395, back up down to UNR, because I don't know what's going on with the timing, but it sure doesn't keep a very good flow. So I don't know if we can like discuss with somebody to maybe reset the timing to, at least during high traffic times, to make it flow smoother. I think that would help with 395 and a lot of the back roads a lot.
and right where Maverick is before you even turn onto it.
Yeah.
That has been, we've had a lot of public comment on there, the backup. They haven't adjusted the timing, Megan,
Okay.
on from,
That's RTC, so I'll have to.
yeah,
I know a lot of
because
people are trying to avoid the freeway. that's
so many
not-
people are going either on Clear Acre or they're going on Virginia. And so it's like you can have you can maybe have 4 cars that can turn on North Virginia if they're fast and, you know, and
Yeah.
it's backed up all the way down the line.
And I've also tried to go like up by where, Hug was, going because the on-ramp. on
Yeah, forget that
395
one.
Is closed.
Yeah.
So I've tried to go up the other one and between the light to turn on to North McCarran to the other light in that little shopping area to McCarran is just, it's all, and it's just, it keeps holding traffic.
Yeah,
I can't
and
get up to
there's
turn on the freeway.
and the problem is what is backing up now, it's really actually a hazard. So
Mhm.
underneath the freeway, so when you're going to Clear Acre to go north, there's only enough room for like 3 car
Yep.
lengths.
Mhm.
And then there's another intersection before like, what is that, the Burger King, or whatever?
Lights,
And
yeah.
people are now, the problem is, people are trying to get through and they're blocking it. And then the people coming off the freeway can't get through to go straight to get onto McCarran
Mhm.
and then the turn. So now we have people like honking at each other because they're actually in the middle of the intersection and they literally can't move because they never thought before, oh, well, you're gonna keep moving, and they can't move.
Mhm.
So
Okay, so
it's gonna, since we're gonna be doing this for
I
2
know.
years,
I know.
if they could adjust the lights a little bit to let more than a couple, and I know we don't have that control, but there's some engineer
Yeah,
somewhere
yeah.
that could, go out there at 7 o'clock in the morning, and
5, 9.
4:30 in the afternoon and go, oh,
I
whoa,
feel like we could have a lot of room.
we got
The
some
park
road
and
rage.
the lights.
Okay, and
That
then,
causes a lot of problems.
and you're saying Maverick at Panther?
Maverick at Panther, that's a bad one, and then the McCarran northbound,
I think the Clear Acre.
Clear Acre.
Yeah.
Clear Acre northbound.
I think if they could just alleviate some of the light traffic, and just make it flow better, it would work better with the 395.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna have to go to McCarran,
At all.
Virginia, and take that up to Panther. They have actually, I heard something about they're supposed to be closing the Panther.
Yeah, so as they create
We
the
gotta get.
rated ramp, you have to go to North Virginia.
Shut you off.
Yeah.
everywhere, you gotta-
So
Yeah.
they've got to be that communication with the local people of, let's get that flowing, because there's gonna be some road rage out there.
So some of it's temporary, some of it's more long-term, but there's some great feedback, so thank you.
Thank you. And I would also encourage you all, Councilmember Ebert has been fighting tooth and nail to get meetings with the director of NDOT consistently. So it's great having that information here, but also consolidating. So when she has those meetings, she has that information and she's like, look at this email, look at this email, look at time, date, stamp. That all really helps when she's having those meetings.
Should just send you emails directly?
Yes. And you can CC me as well, so we can keep.
And just a question. The collaboration between city and county, is this something that's like just city, or who's our county person? Like this, it seems like this would be an involved effort, city, county, state, whoever.
Yeah.
Who's our representatives for District 32, county, what's our district?
We have like.
Is
Herman is our county representative, but I mean, really, it's RTC and NDOT that we need to.
And who does, an RTC and NDOT's the state?
Yeah.
RTC is the combination
Yeah,
of
yeah.
all the
Yeah,
things.
Mayor TV and Councilmember Reese are on RTC, so I can talk.
Did they
them
ever come out
about
to the
this.
valleys? Yeah, didn't think so.
Okay, thank you.
But
Yeah.
yes, please, that
Yeah.
information would be great. Yes,
Are your emails on here?
no, I can give
Oh,
you.
right.
Okay.
All right, that was all I have.
Any additional public comment tonight? Seeing none, I want to thank everyone for attending and being here through the end. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn, John White.
Thank you, John.
Kathleen Egan, second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you so much.
We weren't even supposed to go long tonight, but we're all talkative. Sorry. No one's gonna agree on any art, so.
But one night, in spring.
Thank you.
I walked across.
I didn't know.
Graveyard shift.
Don't